Shannon, how surprised were you that he said this?
I'm not surprised at all, but Peyton always, he has the great comebacks. He's like, yeah, let me know how that conversation works out for you tomorrow morning, Skip.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because quarterbacks don't think anybody is as smart as they are. They feel, and they do, Skip. I'm not going to poo-poo that. I understand what a quarterback, I've been in meeting with John. I understand what he has to go through, has to call the plays, knows the defense, knows where he's supposed to one read, two read, where he's supposed to.
But you were an offensive player.
I was an offensive player, yes, absolutely. But he said the same thing about Gronk. Gronk, you play tight end. It's not that hard. Get open, catch ball, run with the ball. You're not calling plays. So this is what he thinks. Most quarterbacks think, and because he's comfortable. Skip, what I've noticed since I've had my own podcast, when people get around me, they feel comfortable around me, they'll open.
True.
They'll open up more.
True.
Just even with Tom, when I did you remember the draft, he felt comfortable around other NFL guys.
He did.
Tom, which would you rather have? Would you take the victory or you give a Super Bowl ring to be undefeated? What? That's no question. So, Skip, when guys get around, he's comfortable around Peyton. I believe he's more comfortable around Peyton than he is Eli. But it's another quarterback. A guy played at a very high level. And so I can open up. I can be myself. And so, he's probably going to tell him, man, I was just joking. That's TV, just entertaining. I think you guys are very, very smart. It's a lot that you guys have to do. Yeah. And they do, Skip, because guys that really study, they understand formations. They understand the route combination that teams like to run out of those formations, split, align, adjustment. And so those things, so I'm not going to say it's just dog chasing a car, Skip. I'm not going to go as far as Tom did. But what we're starting to see, from the moment that he says, bye-bye Patriots, bye-bye Boston, bye-bye New England, whatever you want to say, he's been a different player. Be it social media, he's been more forthcoming. He's not as hesitant to discuss what's actually on his mind and say what he's actually thinking. Although he's still guarded, Skip. Now, he's not going to just, but there have been times he's like, Tom, you would have never said that in New England. You would have never done that in New England. And I think people are very excited to see this. Skip, at some point in time, people want to see that you're kind of like the rest of us. You have emotion. You'll say things and you'll do things. It's kind of like the rest of us. He was so buttoned up for 20 years in New England. People like, hey, he's boring. Come to find out, nah, he's not as boring as you thought he was. It was just that he was in a situation that was frowned upon. He didn't want to ruffle the head coach's feathers. He was thought of as the leader, and he knew that if he did it, everybody else would want to do it, and Coach Belichick would frown upon it. So he told the company line he was the good soldier, kept everybody else in place for Coach Belichick to do the Patriot way. But now that he's been in Tampa, Tom Brady has not changed. This is who he's always been. He's just getting an opportunity to be more forthcoming and to show the world this is who he is.
I cannot tell you how much I disagreed with every point you just made.
Okay.
Obviously, you are not a Brady fan. I am one of the biggest.
Okay.
And my message to Tom right here, right now is no, 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 no. What are you thinking? Do you know how hard it is to dominate this sport at age 44, which he is doing as we speak? He's got 21 touchdown passes to lead the National Football League against only 3 interceptions.
Okay.
Pro Football Focus still ranks him grading-wise number 1 overall through 7 weeks of the season.
In the weekend.
Why would you suddenly, to your first point, let your hair down, so to speak, and let your guard down, so to speak, and blurt out a shocking shot at all defensive players? I got to tell you, I was watching this kind of like this, like, okay, because he was mostly guarded until that moment, and it just came out of nowhere, and he went, as they say, he kept it 100, like keep it 100, and all of a sudden he's got 99 more problems.
Yes.
Because if I play defense at a high level in this league, and I heard that, it would really tick me off. And he has been less hateable in Tampa because he's been more open and funny on Instagram. And all of a sudden, you went there?
Yes. But
defensive players are like dogs who chase cars. It's like the ultimate shot at all defensive players I've ever heard. And then he tried to amend it at the very end.
So
obviously, there's some great defensive players out there. He tried to throw that in at the end just to
But you're just great because you have athletic ability. It's not because you understand the game or you study film.
have you guys been in any defensive meetings? And I don't know how many defensive meetings Tom has actually been in, but he acts like if you go in a defensive meeting, they're speaking caveman, you know, like, right? And they're beneath his football IQ. Right. And he's acting like it's really not that hard to pick them to pieces because they have no idea what they're doing. They're just dogs chasing cars, right? So I was amazed that he would go there out of nowhere. And yet, to your point, you do podcasts, and you have found that over time that athletes with ex-athletes and ex-athletes or current and ex, whichever way, there's a trust factor where you finally feel like, okay, I got this. I can actually speak real to him, right?
That is correct.
And if I'm interviewing somebody, it's like, he's gonna come after me. He's gonna. I got to be careful. I got to guard. Right.
Right.
Okay. So there's also this operating where even though Tom wants to be Peyton's friend, I don't think Peyton is his friend. Every time I see Peyton on any sort of TV platform, he's always taking shots at Tom that don't come off as good-natured to me. And I know he's a kidder by nature and all that, but it comes off as a little bit sarcastic, a little bit bitter, and a little bit jealous. And remember, Peyton's only a year and a half older than Tom, and it feels like Peyton's been gone for what? Forever, since that last Super Bowl.
So it's 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And you know, it's just eating at him. And he'd already taken a shot earlier in the telecast last night, and they do a great job. It's fun to watch. I know you don't keep the sound up.
I don't watch it.
Okay, so. I got it. I go back and forth between the two, but I enjoy the banter between Peyton and Eli because it's brotherly, and they can go at each other. But Peyton had already taken an earlier shot at Tom. I'm just paraphrasing, but it was something like, yeah, Tampa throws every down, so he's going to have 100 touchdown passes this year, which is kind of your view, right?
Yes.
And that's eating Peyton up. That, well, this is just cake for them. You know, they're just throwing it, and they get in the red zone, and they just throw it and throw it and throw it until he finally gets another touchdown pass from 2 yards away. And it smacks of some jealousy because against Peyton, Tom was 11-6, and I know Peyton got him in the postseason.
The last three times.
The last three times. But obviously, Eli, he just is happy-go-lucky on this telecast. He just goes along for the ride because, to me, he's always just like in bliss. Just nothing seems to bother him, and that's how he played football. Nothing. He led the league in interceptions 3 times, and nothing bothered him because he beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl.
And that's the thing. Eli's sitting back like, why do y'all say it was so hard to beat Tom in the playoffs? I've never lost to him. It's not that hard.
Not that hard.
So that's how Eli's thinking. So he's just sitting back there chilling, Skip.
Yeah. Okay. So in the end, I don't think that remark did Tom any good. Because 44 is hard enough without just spilling that out. And I think he's going to live to regret that. I don't think the Saints will like that. And the Saints had Demario Davis was on ESPN like after the game saying, talking about we wear our hard hats and we play. We defend every blade of grass out there. Well, this is the kind of thing that for a guy like that, that's going to set him off.
Yeah, but Skip, you disagree with my point. But what you're actually saying, you agree with my point that quarterbacks actually think that they're smarter than everybody else.
I got that, especially him. But you cannot say that publicly.
But I'm saying he said it because he was around someone that he's comfortable saying it around.
But the question was, how surprised are you that he said it? I'm shocked that he said it because he has always worked so hard not to say anything.
He has, but Skip, if he'd have been in New England, he'd have never uttered this. But remember, Skip, now all of a sudden he said it's easy to play quarterback because the defenses can't do certain things. So he's saying, yes, my job has become exponentially easier because of the limitations that they placed on the defensive players. He would have never said that in New England. But it's now that he's in Tampa, Skip, he feels that, well, I can be my true self. So I'm not surprised based on what he's done since he's got in Tampa, how forthcoming he's been.
Okay, I got it. But as this escalated last night, well, to your point, I don't think he would have ever done this appearance if he'd been in.
No.
It is a school night, so to speak. And he did make mention of he'd been carefully watching the Saints all day on tape before the game because like a third-string cornerback came up during the telecast, and he said, yeah, I've been watching him today. And he knew his whole background, where he's from, undrafted, blah, blah, blah. So he's already studying on the Saints, and this is I would say it's a pretty big division game,
Yes.
right? At
Yes.
a place where they lost last year and they lost the
Right.
Saints both times. They actually got embarrassed by the Saints both times during the regular
Right.
season, and then they righted the wrong in the postseason.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think the Saints want to get even for that one, the playoff
course.
game. Okay, so it was escalating last night because I think Tom thought he would only do 6 or 8 minutes.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Peyton says, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Hang on, Tom. You can go to bed in a minute. And I think they ended up taking 3 breaks with Tom, and he's just kind of like a prisoner.
Right.
And I think he loved doing it.
Right.
But he didn't love that the clock is ticking
Right.
into his sleep time.
Right.
And obviously at 44, you better guard your sleep time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the thing is also, Skip, you get to talking, and then, they get to asking questions, and you look, you're just having a good time with your boys, and I think Tom might have forgotten that he's actually on television. This is not a conversation that's between you, Peyton, and Eli. That's off camera. And so him saying that, guys are just chasing, dogs chasing their tails, it's like, I don't think at the time how bad he realized it came off as. It came off as very dismissive.
It did.
Of guys that play at an elite level. I mean, there are guys that play on the offensive level, and we always, Skip, we get that a lot, that offensive guys are students of the game.
Yep.
And very few guys get labeled as students of the game on the defensive side of the football because it's so reactionary. It's not like you're plotting and planning. You're just reacting to what the receiver, what the quarterback, what the offense does. Where I got the scheme against you, so it seems like it's taking a lot more thought process I got a scheme because you might do this, so I got to have a counter for that. But they don't look at it, well, okay, the defense got a scheme also because they got to have a counter for your counter if you counter their counter.
Maybe a safety gets a reputation, your man Rod Woodson or Ed Reed as a savant, like he can out-scheme you.
And see, Deion didn't get credit for being a student of the game because they said he's just so gifted. He don't study, but he did.
He did. No, I got it. Maybe a middle linebacker, maybe Ray got some credit.
The Keekleys, the guys like that. But if you're a defensive lineman, you just got Myles Garrett doesn't get credit. He just, you see what he looks like? The dude's 6'5", 275, and he's chiseled. He's just going to get the quarterback.
Yep. By the way, speaking of getting comfortable and forgetting you're on TV, Marshawn Lynch was on the previous segment, and he forgot to the point we got 2 SH words, and then at the end we got an F word.
Like, what the?
And knowing ESPN the way I know ESPN, because I worked there for a long time, that will not fly. And quickly, Marshawn was dismissed.
Yes.
And quickly, Eli apologized for the F-bomb.
Right.
Okay, so then we get to the point that all of a sudden they throw up your favorite video of Tom. This is late in the interview of doing it's this way, 4 fingers, right?
Yeah.
And Tom was a little ticked, like, come on, don't you guys have any blooper video we can show? I'm sure, I'm paraphrasing what he said, right? So he did not love that. And then also late, Peyton tells the story of it was the Friday before the opener at New Orleans last year.
Right.
So it was the one game they played at New Orleans during the regular season, but it happened to be the opener, obviously middle of the pandemic.
Right.
And Peyton divulged on national TV that Tom called him to ask, how did it work? How did you integrate the Indy offense into the Bronco offense?
Right.
How did you do it on the fly?
Right.
And then Peyton, before Tom could even answer, said, and I wondered, why did you wait until Friday before the opener to call and ask me that, which kind of undercut the whole point of the story, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so once again, it came across to me as another shot at Brady, like he was saying a good thing, and then he undercut it with a sarcastic shot.
Well, you look at it like, well, they were adversaries. Why would you even call anyway? But I don't look at it like that because here's somebody that's gone through something that I'm about to embark upon. Here's a guy that left a place for however long he was there, 15 years, and now he's going and knowing, but it was totally different. Peyton was allowed to bring everything. Peyton ran the walkthroughs. Peyton ran the practices. That was his offense. There was no integration between the offensive coordinator and Peyton Manning.
Nope.
Peyton brought that system. Now, had they allowed Brady to bring his system and they learned his system, maybe it would have fast tracked, Skip, and you wouldn't have had the hiccups that you had before. But at the end of the day, if you get the end results that they got, they would gladly take it. So he said, well, how do you do that? How do you do that without ruffling the offensive coordinator's feathers? How do you do that without stepping on the head coach's toes? But when you get a guy like Peyton, you get a guy like Tom Brady,
yep.
Skip, you turn it over. You take a step back and you say, that's who that is, and he's beyond reproach.
To your point, guess who runs the Tampa Bay Bucs offense? This guy named Bruce Arians, who's been around, and he's coached all the great ones from Peyton to Luck to Carson Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big Ben.
Big ego. Yeah. Big ego for Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
So there is no way he's going to hand over the keys to his kingdom to Tom Brady right away. What did it require? It required getting just annihilated at home by New Orleans midseason on a Sunday night, losing to the Rams fairly. It was a pretty good beatdown.
Right.
And then here came Mahomes, and they fell completely behind. They rallied, obviously. They made it a game in the end, but they lost.
Right.
Then the bye week happened. And finally, Bruce Arians had to swallow a bunch of his pride and say, okay, I give up. I give in.
Right.
You do it.
Right.
And that's when Tom took over the offense, as you suggest.
And I think the thing is also, Skip, what really helps is having Byron Leftwich, because you have that buffer.
Yep.
So it's theoretically, and as Bruce Arians has mentioned, he's like, I don't even go by the offensive meeting room. That's Byron Leftwich's responsibility. So that's he and Tom's working relationship. Yep. And they have it, Skip, they have a great, because if I'm not mistaken, Byron Leftwich might be younger than Tom Brady.
I think he is.
Yeah, I think he is.
If
I'm not mistaken, I think he is.
Tom is
so
44.
it's not very often that you have a football player that's older than the coach that is actually coaching him.
Yep. Well, so Tom Brady won a Super Bowl last year while playing on a torn MCL that he had to get fixed, repaired, and reattached after the season.
Okay.
And I'm going to suggest that this is almost as bad, so he's going to have to play the rest of this year with every defensive player out there saying,
they got to get it. They're coming to get it.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this. Oh, we'll see. We're just dogs chasing cars. And he's going to hear that during games.
Guess
when
what,
they
Skip?
sack him on Sunday, if they do get him.
You're the car, Tom, and they're the dogs.
Yep.
And you better believe they're coming to chase you right now, because they already had an incentive, Skip. And look, I do think nobody wants to be the guy that put the hit on Tom Brady that puts him out for a career. So I think guys, they pull up. Tom is running out of bounds, Skip, where somebody else, they might go, they'll pull up. If they get an opportunity to put Tom down really hard, they make sure they don't drop their body weight on Tom. Because you don't want to be that guy, Skip. Now, after saying that, you've been dismissive of over 700 defensive players by saying they're dogs chasing. Like, y'all don't even study. Skip, look, I walk by the defensive meeting room and I'm like, what the hell y'all doing in here? What y'all watching? Y'all probably watching, I'm making a joke, Skip. Y'all probably watching some TV series. Y'all not even studying. Making a joke, but I understand, Skip. Guys, you be surprised, Skip, but you've heard them. Guys know you line up on a certain, you 2 yards outside the number. You better not run that bang. If you run that skinny post, I'm going to pick it. If you run, I tell you what, you 3 yards outside the number, run her out and see what I do to you.
But these are your teammates.
No, but I'm just, in the game.
Oh, in the game, you're saying. Okay, I thought you meant when you go by.
No, Skip, because that's the thing. What you do as an offensive player, you play with splits. You play with alignments because they study tape too.
Yeah, you were unusual in that regard. I'm not sure that goes on all that much.
But Skip, I'm saying, Skip, these guys, obviously, everybody studies and learns a different way. But if I got to spend all my time watching this tape, Skip, I've got to pick up something. I'm trying to gain an advantage. That's why you watch that tape. There's a reason why nobody just like, okay, just go play on Sunday. Yep. You've studied tape. There's a good chance that Tom got a head start and he started watching New Orleans on Sunday after the game. When he got home, he probably, spent a little time with the kids. He probably got an hour in, got a head start. And like he said yesterday, he had been watching New Orleans all day. So you get a head start. You're trying to consume as much as you possibly can. But Skip, I just think he got comfortable. And he can't, and I think once he thought about it, he probably like, damn, I was very dismissive. There's some great players that obviously are students of the game, and I came off as being dismissive and saying that they're basically just athletes. They're not students, as opposed to saying all offensive players. And I get that, Skip. I've heard it before. As a defensive player, it's like, hey, son, you play man football. You got that man.
I got it.
So, and Tom is... That's something that you say in the locker room, Skip, but we don't say that publicly about somebody.
I'm going to predict that Tom will try to, quote unquote, walk this back in his media availability.
Yes.
I think it's on Wednesday. I'm not
Probably
sure.
so. Probably
I think
so.
it's Wednesday.
What-
But
yeah,
just listen. He will try to distance himself from this and try to eliminate it, because he eliminated a lot of the shots that they were taking at him last night. How does he deflect for the most part? He just chuckles, and he's got a great chuckle.
Right.
He just kind of laughs.
Right.
He can laugh at himself.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this came out of nowhere.
Right.
And
But
maybe to your point, he just forgot where he was.
Well, Skip, what happened was Jameis was like 5 yards down the field and pump fake, and the guy jumps up, and Tom is like, "What the hell are you jumping for?" The dude's right there. He's like 2 yards in front of you. He's way past the line of scrimmage. He can't throw it.
Okay.
So that's what started it, Skip, is that Jameis was beyond the line of scrimmage, and he pump fakes, and the guy jumps up like he's going to knock the pass down when Jameis has already ran for like 7 yards. And so Tom is thinking like, what the hell?
There's a real guy in there, and I've told you this from the start. I've nicknamed that guy Psycho Tom.
Right.
And he comes out in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, because he goes completely crazy, and he'll go get in Honey Badger's face during the Super Bowl and go back and forth with him. But I didn't expect Psycho Tom, so to speak, to come out and play on national TV last night, but he did.
Well, Skip, if he says this about Gronk, Gronk's his friend.
Yeah.
So Gronk is not going to give it a pass and thought, well, that's what I do. I get open, I catch ball, I run football. You can say that about a teammate.
Okay,
you can
but
say
that's
that about a friend.
That's like classic sandbagging to me, where you're trying to undercut. Because they say Gronk's a savant.
He is.
Yes, he's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Skip.
and so I think it's like trying to DBs like into thinking, oh, he just sees ball, catches ball, runs with ball. There's a lot more going on.
Of course, you have to understand it. We saw it opening night when they ran that play against the Cowboys. Gronk had to see that on tape.
He did.
He had to know the situation. Though this is what they like to do in this down and distance in this area of the field, and he has to recall all that information. That's the thing with a quarterback, and that's why I give the quarterback so much credit. Skip, the information that they have to recall over and over. All I got to do is recall, okay, they're in this defense, this guy's covering me fine. But he has to recall that information and know where everybody else is on the field.
Yep. Well, good luck, Mr. Brady.
Yeah, I'm curious how his teammates do talk to him today, right? Like, they'll have a few questions for him. I have a feeling he might hear it from a few guys.
Devin White, oh, really?
Really? That's all we're doing? Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.